Them are the ones too.
Go on, man. Yeah, wait for Christmas.
Back again. Another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. What you saying, Pops?
I'm good, man.
Yo, it's been a long time. But we're back. We're here. We're active. Yeah, sorry for the break, the hiatus. You know, there's been a lot going on in the world, you know. But yeah, we're not going to get into that. But we are back. We're solid. So make sure that you're liking the content. Tell us what you want us to react to. Now, the last time we was reacting, we were talking about India. But, you know, there's been a lot going on in the world, so I'm going to shift focus now. Especially after I was watching something on Donald Trump and what's going on with, what's his name? Zelensky. Is that how I pronounce it? Zelensky. So with Zelensky, and you know, how basically he's saying that my man should have never have gone to war with Russia. Basically, Russia owned what my man's got. So my man should have just give Russia that land. No one would have died. It was poor negotiating. Zelensky's a dictator. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there, man. I thought Donald Trump's an idiot. Can't stand him. Like, I don't care. Like, so yeah, these videos are probably going to be biased. But we're gonna tune into. In fact, I'm gonna retract that. They're not gonna be biased because I'm here to learn, and I am here to learn. But still, currently, let's see if they can change my opinion. But we're not even gonna be watching Trump anyway. We're gonna start off with the history, and then we'll go into what's going on today. So,
History of what?
Ukraine, Russia.
Okay.
Yeah. So from my understanding, right, I know like for us really, it started with Crimea. Us over here who know about anything, little bit, it started when Russia went into Crimea. Now my main thinking of that was always, from the little knowledge that I have, was that it was due to the warm water ports and Russia not having warm water ports. Now if Ukraine joined NATO, that means that basically NATO control Russia's warm water ports. So that's what I thought kick-started it. Now, there's probably a deeper history. What are you saying, Pop? What's your knowledge of this whole beef?
Saying there used to be a place called the Soviet Union. Russia and Ukraine was in it, along with lots of other people. So when it kind of fragmented,
yeah,
like I said, strange things, but Soviet Union became Russia effectively. Some other regions got independence, Ukraine being one. But what started the war?
So Ukraine, Albania,
was all
Chechnya,
Soviet Union, innit?
Yeah, all them Chechnyan countries, Georgia,
Soviet Union.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So all them were basically, that was like Europe, innit?
Yeah, a continent.
Yeah, kind of like a European thing, innit? But obviously they split up.
But when they agreed to split up the Soviet Union, America agreed not to take the Michael.
Okay.
In terms of offering Soviet blocs membership of NATO. And there's a criteria for being a member of NATO which you have to meet, and none of them did. Ukraine, on the other hand, has come up with its own idea with encouragement from particular politicians and come at it from a different angle.
Okay.
But the original thing was not America, and you know, America has moved its position and has breached that original agreement with the Soviet Union. So, you know, again, if you think of it as Russia, then yeah, there's nothing. Russia looks like the bad guy, but Russia is just carrying on the Soviet agreement.
But it was bad though, wasn't it? Soviet Union. I mean, I said it was like Europe then, but it wasn't really like Europe, because wasn't there a lot of it was ideally it was a dictatorship. So the Soviet Union Did the countries still have their own flags and that, or were they all just Soviet Union?
Soviet Union.
So
Red
like,
flag in it.
this is what I mean. So like, Georgia wasn't Georgia at the time; it was just Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And like, Ukraine wasn't Ukraine; it was just Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, I guess, in a sense. When did that break up? Do you know?
Soviet Union, the 90s and 92 or something.
Is that when it was? Why did I think it was before then? Is that when it was just the 90s?
You know, when the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah.
That's it, innit? That's the breakup of the Soviet Union. Started in Germany.
I just come back from there as well. Shout out to the Berlin Wall. Okay, yeah. So that's the important thing, you know. Think about history as well, timeline in it. So people can think of like independent things happening, right? But if you can't timeline your history effectively, you've got nothing, because you need to realize that everything happens for a reason.
Do the
So
research.
this happens over here in this time, which has led to this happening here. So when you can't timeline things, it makes it hard for you to piece history together.
That's why they keep moving the pieces, though, innit? So there was this geezer called Gorbachev. He's the one who made the decision to break the Soviet Union, but it was built on negotiating with the other superpower in the world, America, that everything is square and we just want to make capitalism prevail and everybody make lots of money. But then America start with this, and not America, a particular party and a particular group of people start to implement this new strategy. Ukraine took a TV actor and he acted his part as president and secured all that money from America and into the war. But, you know, in terms of in political aspirations, it all centered around continuation of money being transferred. This is the Ukraine war, like I said, was a war that was fought with no television coverage, just hearsay, word of mouth. Oh, 50 million died today, 20. No cameras allowed, no nothing. It's not been straight from the beginning.
Couldn't we say that about Gaza?
Where?
Couldn't we say that about
They filmed
Gaza?
Gaza.
No.
They do, man.
Yeah, but the numbers that are coming out of Gaza, we can't really, because you have to remember that there's been no media allowed into Gaza. None. Like, nothing's been allowed in. So all the numbers that be reported and stuff.
The Arab TV stations report them not under the European rule.
No, it's not about the European rule. It's about Israel. Israel ain't letting. Remember, to get into Gaza, Israel got to let you in.
Yeah, but
So-
there are people in there, like I said.
There's
already.
only two bodies. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the point being is like, it's all right for people to say like this is a de facto war or it's not a real war. I don't know, man. Like, I just see it, and in fact, I'm lying. I
Which
do
one
know
are we
it was a
talking
real
about?
war.
Gaza
I'm
there?
going to both of them, but I'm going back to Ukraine because one of my good friends. One of my good friends went to fight in Ukraine. Yeah, mad story. It's a story for another time, but
Big money.
he was saying to me, it wasn't big money. Like, how did he get big money?
Didn't they get...
He went illegally. Like, he wasn't meant to be
They
there.
had mercenaries, they called them. Mercenaries get paid
Missionaries.
substantively. Mercenaries, not missionaries. Mercenaries. The whole beginning of the Ukraine thing was we've only got like 20,000 Ukrainians. The rest were, like I said, even of Al-Qaeda. People from any mercenary group can join the Ukraine army and go on the front. So the American soldiers were there for technical support, but they're not fighting in the war. Those were mercenaries come from Syria. And anybody who wanted to be, and lots of English people went like duck hunting. That's all them see, because there wasn't really a Russian invasion like that initially. It was just Ukrainians sniping off people in the Donbass. So the war initially was in the Donbass region, you know, where Russians live who speak Russian, but Ukraine don't want to allow them to do them thing. So from 2014, Ukraine been bombing Donbass.
Since 2014, okay.
From 2014, right? Non-stop bombing, murdering them. In 2022, Russia said, look, done it. We're going to annex it, and it's going to be a part of Russia. So you can...
Yeah, you can't touch it, basically.
Basically, and that's the rationale for the war. Oh, we
So
want
that's
to
what
blow
the
these
rationale.
people.
That's what the war started. Do you know what we're talking a lot here? Let's
watch the film.
Yeah. Let's watch the film. But that's interesting because, like I said, I didn't really know about any of that there. So
Volume.
Ukraine is the second largest country. Good morning, Hank. It's Tuesday. So to understand the unfolding catastrophe in Ukraine, I think it's really important to have some historical and political context. First, a quick snapshot of Ukraine. It is the second largest country in Europe by area, and at least as of 3 weeks ago, it was home to over 40 million people. The national languages are Ukrainian, which is the first language of about 2/3 of Ukrainians, and also Russian, which is the first language of about 30% of Ukrainians. Russian is most commonly spoken in the east and the south of the country, but gentle reminder that language is not nationality. Ukrainian history and cultural identity stretches back a very long time, but its history as a nation-state really begins, like a lot of countries, in World War I. Beginning in 1917, Ukraine was for a time an independent nation called the Ukrainian People's Republic, which had this flag and is seen as the forerunner of modern Ukraine, which has this flag. But like the borders and even the existence of this new country were always contested. From 1917 to 1921, there was a war between the Ukrainian People's Republic and the Bolsheviks, who were just coming to power in Russia. And in January of 1919, just after the end of World War I, the Bolsheviks invaded Ukraine in full force and eventually defeated the Ukrainian People's Republic. Among other factions, wars are complicated, and Ukraine became one of the Soviet Socialist Republics of the new Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. One of the generals who led that Bolshevik invasion.
So you get that now. Russia invaded Ukraine and it became a part of the Soviet Union.
yes,
So we'll assume Russia was representing the Soviet Union at that point. And it would have just become a part of Russia and not a part of the Soviet Union, innit?
well, that's just like saying, you know, it's like saying, you know, when the Roman Empire went somewhere and you don't become part of Rome, do you? You become part of the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like you're not now Rome.
Yeah, but it
Like,
was the
you're
Roman army.
Italy,
it wasn't the Italian army. It was the Roman army made up of conscripts from all over the empire.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So you had So you had the Roman army, but essentially it's not like they were going to people like, oh, if you're in Greece, like Greece is now Rome, is it? No.
But what they said is
Greece.
Russia attacked Ukraine, two countries, and Ukraine became a part of USSR, which is the empire.
That's because I'm assuming all
Russia
them
have the army.
countries. Yeah, because remember, Russia's huge, isn't it? Like,
No.
like Russia. Russia's big.
It's not.
Russia's not big. Okay, we'll look that up. I'm sure Russia's big though. Large continent, a lot of people in Russia.
Soviet Union was big. Russia itself is just one of the Moldova. It's bigger than them ones, but
This is what I'm trying to say. So they've got the force in that region, and is what I'm trying to say to you. So yeah, Russia probably Russia a headline. It's like you said, the Bolsheviks took power in Russia because that's where the power is. Yeah. So the Bolsheviks take control of Russia. Then they just start annexing everywhere, saying, "Oh, do you know what? You're going to become part of the Soviet Union." That's essentially, or the USSR.
The Soviet Union, the Bolsheviks took control in Soviet Union. Russia was having nothing specifically done. He's using the word Russia because it's modern context. But this is what I'm saying. This was all Soviet Union. It wasn't Russia doing anything. It was the Soviet Union.
What I'm asking you was, before the Soviet Union, was Russia?
Yeah, the Rus have been historically there.
Yeah, the Rus. Yeah, they've been around since the Vikings. Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is, at some point, someone in Russia said, "We want to control this whole region." Right? They would have, because they would have been the power in the region. So they was gone like, "Yo, we want to control everything around there. So what we'll do is, right, we're not just going to go in and just turn everywhere into Russia. We'll just say we're going to unite everyone." It's the same play that they do today with, like I said, Europe and everywhere else. We're just going to unite everyone. So let's call it the USSR. So Russia really are the power. Everyone who was in that, every single country that got adopted into the USSR, Dad. Well, we just seen that. They invaded Ukraine, so Ukraine clearly didn't want to be in the Soviet Union, but I bet you when they went to the meeting and said, nah, we don't want to do it, they were like, no, listen, you're doing it, otherwise you're gone. So really, Russia, was running the play, basically. Everyone around them had no real say in what was going on. You may have had sympathizers.
I'm hearing you thinking, but
you may have had sympathizers and thought, oh, this is going to be bad for us. I don't believe
the Russians, Russia was like London in England, so Russia was capital, big business city, but it wasn't, when they separate from Ukraine, half of the nuclear missiles were in Ukraine, bro. Russia was all over that. Soviet Union had nuclear, Russia had nothing. Russia was just another spot. So they had deployment of things all around in different countries as well. So when they split, that's what made them breaking apart more complicated because of the war machinery and.
But that's like no, but that's just like here. That's why. Why do you think England don't want Scotland to split?
Why?
Because of one, the oil. Like we've got things built in Scotland that we need. We've got like weaponry defences in Scotland that we need to be there. So it's kind of like, really? What? Like, England could be like, yo, Scotland, yeah, done your thing on it. But it's what we've placed there, not we, but what the government have placed there. I can't really
see that when the royal family run was kings in Scotland, kings in Britain, both of them are their country anyway, innit?
Yeah, but it's still different. They still want independence, isn't it? So it's still a different country. So only because we took the king. Listen, England had many kings. There was a king of Manchester, a king of London, a king of Bristol. Do you know what I mean? At some point, they just went, yo, we're locking all these kings off and we're having one. But there was always a king of Scotland, a king of England, and a king of Wales. Obviously, through the, what's it called, ancestral breeding and all that, whatever's gone on, they've become amalgamated and entwined into each other. But they're still their own country. Isn't it?
I don't know. Like me say, there's a line somewhere in the road that says you're in Wales now, but I don't really see where it changes into a different country. So I'm kind of the island in terms of security. Then the whole island needs to be protected because why have a country where man can come in through that way and you're defending this part? Logically, Ireland don't need to be a part of it, but all the mainland needs to be the same country, and that's basically what you've got. One family runs all the land ownership, in contrast to lots of different people.
Yeah, but they're not the same country. But they're not the same country.
Well, if King James the First or King George, whoever it was James of Scotland the First, and then become king in England and change him name to George, but it's the same person.
Okay.
It's the same king in the same, bro. He was king of Scotland and he became king of England as well. So we can say it's two countries, but it's still the same person who didn't move house or anything. He just got an extra bit of paper that says, oh, that part now is you running that.
No, I hear what you're saying.
So to me, Russia now. The Soviet Union was a mega entity at the same time when the British Empire was building and invading. Let me say, these empire things, the American Revolution was, Rome is way back when, but modern history starts with the American Revolution, really. So the Soviet Union have always been on the other side. They have never really been an offensive threat to, they're not as big as, them don't have a budget as big as America. Them don't have as many people as America. But for the capitalist model to work, like I said, they must test in capitalism in America and test in socialism in Soviet. Two different groups of people. Right? Practicing two different ideologies and seeing which one work and which one will be the dominant force, then it play itself out. So a few years from now, everybody, like me say, one world government is bringing everybody back under the same flag and one leadership. But as I try to explain, what they practice on the surface isn't what they practice behind, because them is all knights of the garter. Them all go to these meetings and told what to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I get that. That's even like, you know that from World War One. Like if you know like your history, and it like it's all started from the royals over here and the royals over here. So like the Russians, the Belgians, the English, they're all cousins and cousins and all the same people.
Family.
Like it's the same people fighting each other. You get me? So
Right.
So yeah, this is what I understand. But I think understanding Russia, like I said to you before, the USSR is probably important. I mean, we've just jumped in at this USSR bit, but the way I look at it is that...
Well, I'm just distinguishing that the USSR is not Russia. Russia is a country in the USSR.
Yeah, but it holds the power.
Now.
No, it did then as well when the USSR started. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I guess we'll find out. Because I guess it's going to take like... Because obviously the Bolsheviks took power. So where were they from?
Well, who are the Bolsheviks?
We'll have to do a video. I don't know.
Bolshevik invasion of Ukraine was Joseph Stalin, who cemented himself as leader of the Soviet Union in 1929. Stalin wanted to crush any Ukrainian independence movements, which for him also meant discouraging Ukrainian language and cultural identity through a variety of strategies, many of them horrific. But we're going to focus today on just two Stalin policies that continue to reverberate. First, the Holodomor, as it is known in Ukrainian. In 1932 and 1933, millions of Ukrainians starved to death because of Stalin's agricultural policies, wherein food was taken from Ukrainian homes and Ukrainian fields and sent elsewhere in the Soviet Union, especially to industrial centers. This period is sometimes known in English as the Terror Famine, to emphasize that it was not the result of blight or weather, but of human choice. So to be clear, the Stalin regime knew what it was doing. These policies were designed to punish Ukrainian peasant farmers who were seen to be resistant to Stalin's ideal of the Soviet Union. It is hard to overstate the horrors of the Holodomor. Perhaps 1 out of every 8 Ukrainians died in a 2-year period. Another Stalin-era policy that continues to reverberate was forced deportation. So because Stalin wanted to discourage independence movements, he forcibly moved millions of people. Almost the entire indigenous population of Tatar people were forcibly deported from their home in the Crimean Peninsula. Many Ukrainians were forced to leave Ukraine, including for prison camps in Siberia, and many Russian people were moved against their will to various areas of the Soviet Union as well, including Ukraine. This had a significant, lasting effect on the ethnic, cultural, and linguistic makeup of a huge swath of Eurasia.
So that's quite a smart thing to do, isn't it, really? When you want to do it. It's almost like when they, when the English people used to do that. It's different, but like prima nocta, and so essentially like you try and breed people out rather than kill them. So what they've just done is they've gone, right, what we're going to do is we're just going to move you all over the place. So now we'll mix Russians in with Ukrainians, we'll mix these people with these people. So no one's really got no identity. You've all just become USSR. You're not a Ukrainian anymore. You're not this. You're not that. So we just mix you all up, move you around the place. Then it don't matter. You see what I'm saying? It's clever.
It sounds like America to me.
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, Spanish went there, killed everybody off, moved them around, told them a cracking nuts, and they've got it. You got the original people talking about reparations. Reparations for your own land, brother, you mad. Anyway, so this is the way empires are built and do what them do. Like me say, I don't need to assess what was going on in the 1800s, but Bolsheviks and the influence of the Jewish population, who again you can trace all the way back in history to for them maneuverings through everything.
So what are the Bolsheviks? Are Jewish? Hold on, the Bolsheviks it's not a family, though, is it? Is that like what is it?
Ideology, theory, Zionism, and these things come from that. The Jews in Palestine was as a result of a plan made by the Bolsheviks.
Oh, is it?
It's not accidentally they ended up in Israel.
Yeah.
So Israel was chosen. They chose Uganda, Africa first, still, blood, but too hot. Anyway, so through that period is where that whole Zionism period was designed, and the manipulation of these people by what called the Bolsheviks, which are Jewish people.
So there are a lot of Jewish people in Russia.
Sorry?
Is there a lot of Jewish people in Russia?
That's where the Bolsheviks came from, innit?
Okay.
There wasn't any Jewish people anywhere else.
Okay.
So, yeah, Bolshevism led to present-day Palestine and apartheid in South Africa. And now apartheid, like I said, has been going on in...
In South Africa, what's the link there?
Huh?
What's the link with South Africa? So Russian, South African,
Well, the Jews...
Bolsheviks.
The Jews... Right.
Why are you moving the mic?
I don't know if you can talk about this without your video gonna get in trouble because you
Well,
just talk about these things.
just-
Right, South Africa,
Just word it carefully.
apartheid started the same year as the state of Israel. So they started apartheid in Gaza against Palestinians, and then they went to South Africa. You know, Boas Diamond.
Yeah, I know boys. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they control
Like the
South
Belgians
Africa.
and- like
Still
the
got the
Belgians
finance to finance Jewish funds from South Africa. So apartheid, moving the black people out and getting access to the resources, Bolshevik. Designed from then to finance Jewish operations to build a state and bring back all this thing that doing.
Okay.
So when Nelson Mandela again put in the people are happy, we've give you a little thing now, but we're still controlling the wealth and the diamond extraction and all of that. Palestine now, like I say, they've created the state of Israel in the half that they want. Now they want
Oh,
from
the
this
sea.
sea to this sea.
Yeah, to
So
the
them
sea.
have the infrastructure in place that, and it's all part of a grander plan, and they're running it. And America, like I said, has these lobbies, Jewish
Yeah,
lobbies,
lobbies.
and they're
Yeah.
more this and that influence the money and the spend and the support. Donald Trump could take a neutral position, but like me say, he's pro-Israel and business and long-term business for himself. But we'll see it go.
Yeah, what's it?
From Lithuania to Kazakhstan. And it's worth noting that many Ukrainians today feel there are parallels between that Stalin-era policy and what the Putin regime is doing in Ukraine right now. So Putin has repeatedly attacked these humanitarian corridors people are trying to set up to allow safe passage of civilians from besieged cities into Western Ukraine or other countries in Europe, but Putin has said, I will guarantee your safety if you come to Russia. Basically saying you can't stay safely in Ukraine and you can't go west, but you can come to Russia, which feels to a lot of people fairly close to forced movement. Okay, let's move ahead to 1991, when the Soviet Union is breaking up. Ukraine holds a referendum to vote on whether to become an independent nation, and 92% of people vote for independence. In every region of Ukraine, a majority of people vote for independence. And as a result, for the last 30 years, Ukraine has been a globally recognized independent nation. Now, it has not always gone great, as I explored in my previous video about Ukraine, but also independence is complicated in a global world, especially when the name of your country literally means borderlands, as Ukraine does. Partly due to cultural and historical connections, like millions of Ukrainian people have family in Russia, and partly because of economic necessity, Ukraine has had to maintain somewhat close ties with Russia while also trying to remain, a country. Economically, Ukraine has been in a complicated relationship with Russia for the same reason the rest of Europe has been, which is that Russia has a lot of oil and natural gas. Like, fossil fuels amounted to about 60% of Russia's exports in 2019. That figure is similar to, like, Iran or the UAE. And Ukraine has been very reliant on imports of Russian energy sources, not least because at times those imports have been heavily subsidized by Russia to try to curry favor and influence in Ukraine. But here's where we arrive at the crux of the matter. For a country like Ukraine, it is really difficult to have a good relationship with Russia because Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, has long maintained that Ukraine should never have existed. I said earlier that for the last 30 years, Ukraine has been a globally recognized independent nation, but I realize now that's not quite true, because there is one place where Ukraine is not recognized as an independent nation, which is inside of Vladimir Putin's head. Putin, who has directly or indirectly been the leader of Russia for over 20 years, does not view Ukraine as a legitimate nation. And that's not like an accusation, it's a statement of fact. Putin has written repeatedly that he believes Ukraine is lacking in real statehood and that Ukraine was created entirely by Russia. He thinks all Ukrainians should speak Russian and understand themselves to be part of what has historically been Russian land. So despite whatever the talking points are in Putin-friendly media, Putin himself has repeatedly acknowledged exactly what this war is about. He does not believe Ukraine is a legitimate nation, and he believes, quote, the true sovereignty of Ukraine is possible only in partnership with Russia. This is certainly not about, as some have claimed, the protection of Ukrainians who speak Russian as their first language. In fact, in the first 2 weeks of the war, thousands of such civilians have been killed by Putin's regime. It is not about denazification of Ukraine, a nation with a democratically elected Jewish president. And while I don't doubt that Putin feels pressure from the NATO military alliance, and I don't want to minimize the complexities there, I simply don't think it makes Russia...
This guy has got to be the most biased. Is there no Nazis? Don't they have it on Central News and everything about the Americans, Biden supporting the Nazis in Western? It's on the news now. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, there are no Nazis.
What do you mean Biden supporting what Nazis?
Well, that's who the Americans are financing, it, the Nazi party in Ukraine.
I'm confused.
There is a existing Nazi group active in Ukraine. The Ukrainian army is made up of Nazis, leftover Nazis, saluting Nazis with right Nazi ideology. And they're the ones who Biden has been financing to kickstart the war, which is hence the mercenaries coming to join them and all them kind of thing in Russia. So he's trying to say, oh, none of this is real. Hang on, it's 100% real.
No, I'm asking, why would the Nazis do that?
What?
Well, not why would they do it, but why put a Jewish...
Zelensky.
Yeah, why put someone Jewish in control and then use the Nazis to back him?
There's a Nazi party. Zelensky, again, like I said, is a part of this revolutionary thing, the anti-Russian thing. So I don't think the sentiment was put a Jewish man in charge of Ukraine. It just happens that he could get the job done, right? So the fact that him Jewish, neither here nor there, him was hyping and willing to do it. But the thing is, laying in bed with America. So at that point, they've been trying to actively coerce America to letting them into NATO while not being able to meet the criteria to be a NATO member. So let's have a war against Russia, your biggest threat. For Biden, remember, Biden doesn't actually want to fight America. What was happening was washing the money. They will wash money through Ukraine. So they're sending billions and billions to Ukraine, and it comes back to America and American companies for war machines and stuff. Which is why after 10 years, there's only like 2 Russians dead. Every now and then they report some skirmish and this and that, but which war are them talking about, really? I'm sure your brethren went there and came back and probably never saw an opponent.
Do you know, the one thing he did say to me was there were more... No, he did, like, and he said that he'd seen people, like, killed and bodies and that, but he did say, like, 90% of it was, like, just peacekeeping and making sure people were, like, safe and fed.
Well, they don't send civilians into war regions is the reality.
But he's not a civilian, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's
a mercenary in it. Him not part
he
of the army.
was in the British army.
Yeah, but this is what Britain refused to support it.
That's
so
what
they
I'm saying.
deployed people secretly.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go if you want, but we're not sending
you. Well, it was illegal.
And he told them and kitted them and everything. When they're down there, it was a bit of a free-for-all. But supporting it nonetheless. We're sending you bombs and machinery. Only our men can use it. You don't know how to work, so we've got to send men to use it. So they're not in the war. They're just going to set it up and fire the bombs for the missiles. So America's and Britain and the other partners behind America have all done that and misrepresented what they're actually doing down there. But to me, who did invade? You know, they're having like drone wars, some man in the sky sniping things. Crimea, them bust couple pipe for stupidness. That was just to divert the gas deal. So significant things have happened. You know, they've got Germany and the European people all pro-America and pro-Biden and, you know, whatever them going on with, even at the expense of them own people. So in Germany, people was protesting about them not buying gas or paying 4 times as much for gas and oil from America as them can get from them neighbor next door who paying half as much now because them getting it from India. So the whole thing become farcical. But for the American agenda, like I said, washing the money was key.
Was that still?
And changing this crisis that's about to happen, the petrodollar, there is nothing back in the American dollar. Everybody knows now. And that's what the Africans all want their gold back. Everybody's asking America for their gold back. America now give nobody them gold. So we have a war condition thing.
More safe to have Russian soldiers closer to NATO missiles. Again, this is
What are
primarily
NATO
about
missiles
what Putin
doing in
has said
Soviet
it is
Union?
about. He believes that when the borders of Ukraine were drawn, Russia was robbed, and he is seeking to rectify that perceived injustice through violence.
That is one thing I will say, like, to me, like, again, I'm not an expert on it, but it's like poking a bear. Like, I don't understand. NATO know what they're doing. So when they're trying to get all these little countries and that, and like saying, yo, let us put our defense system in there, what do they think's gonna happen? Like the no Russia, you know, there's been a long-standing history, Cold War, all of that. So you know, like, they're not gonna just go,
well,
oh
there's
yeah, okay,
also
we're
the
gonna
contract decided them saying you wouldn't do it.
But this is what I'm saying. We're gonna let you surround us with your missiles, and we're just gonna go, yeah, okay. That's the one thing. So it's kind of like, again, bringing it back to, you know, Trump and that, and whether you believe it's a real war, fake war, whatever. NATO and the Americans or whoever's like running NATO do need to take some accountability in the fact of that, yo, like, you lot are actually putting people in danger. You lot are making these things happen. But again, it's part of the bigger plan.
Washing the money.
Yeah, washing money. Like I said, destabilization. Like, there's loads of things that are part of the plan.
Russia's making more money now than it was before the war.
But everyone's making... Listen, it's crazy. I seen this thing the other day about people making money, yeah. And, you know, since election day, I think Elon Musk has become 200 billion pounds richer. And what's his name? The Facebook brother. What's his name? Zuckerberg. He's become like 69 billion richer. And then your next man, Bezos. The next man. So I'm thinking to myself, like, rah.
Remember before the election, there was a lot of moving money around. They were selling these companies and doing this. And them binching and them know all the things, man. Them maximize them thing all the time.
Including the mass killing of civilians and the destruction of infrastructure that serves them. I mean, just before the invasion, Putin addressed Ukraine by saying, "Whether you like it or not, take it, my darling," which was widely recognized to be a quote from a song about sexually assaulting a corpse. Vladimir Putin told the world what he was going to do, and now he is doing it. I made a video about Ukraine 8 years ago that ended, "The arc of history is long. Let's hope it bends toward peace."
I don't know.
That was tragically naive. I don't know how this war will end, only that it has already caused tremendous suffering. Less than 3 weeks into the Putin regime's invasion of Ukraine, millions of people have been forced to flee their homes, and thousands have been killed.
Has Russia invaded Ukraine? Even to today, has Russia invaded Ukraine?
Has Russia invaded Ukraine?
Yeah, as far as you know, has Ukraine been invaded?
Well, yeah, didn't they invade? Yeah, they have, haven't they?
No, they annexed a piece.
Well, that's invasion, isn't it? If I come into your land, listen, okay, so we can see it's the words we use, ain't it? But yeah, if you
But-
come into, if you listen, if this is Ukraine, and you go, I'm coming in here and I'm taking this piece, you've invaded me. Of course you have. What's the
no,
difference? I don't know what
right.
the difference is then.
Well, for me, the word's different. So one,
Yeah, but it's the words we choose to use,
no,
isn't it?
well, let me explain. Right. Russia has annexed a piece of land where for 10 years they've been asking it to stop killing the Russians who live there. Ukrainians don't live there, Russians live there.
That's not true. Russian speakers live there. Ukrainians live there.
In Badmas, in the Badmas region.
Yeah.
It was
Ukrainians
predominantly
still live
Russians.
there.
innit?
No. We just, and this guy's just said on it, like, yo, they just mixed
Boy,
everyone
my
up.
man ain't reported nothing straight yet. The Badmas region, there were Ukrainians
Alright, let's have a
living
look.
there.
Let me have a look.
But it was predominantly, like I said, for 10 years they were in them, blowing them up and everything down there. And Putin wasn't doing nothing. So when he does do something, he did the minimal that he could do. What you asking it? Just ask it before
I was just
annexation.
saying, the Donbass region, yeah?
Yeah, before annexation, what percentage of Donbass was Russian speaking?
So I'm just having a look, found that. It says that 27% of the Donbass region wanted to join Russia. It says that 18.6% opposed changes to the government structure. 47% favoured federalisation or at least more economic independence from Kiev.
Ukraine, right?
Yeah, that's Ukraine. 47%.
47%.
27% wanted to join Russia in some form, and 5% wanted.
So 75% want a solution, 25% of them can go to Russia.
Yeah.
Right, so that's one way to read it. So as me say, the Donbass region was being impacted by issues which were predominantly affecting Russian people, and them was crying to Russia because them was being bombed by Ukrainian forces in the Donbass. That's where the first 10 years of the war fight, in
Yeah,
Donbass,
okay,
nowhere else.
Yeah.
Right, so Putin never do nothing. He was just watching him people getting slaughtered in Donbass. And 10 years later, him annex it.
But I disagree with that because, first of all, they're not Russians, they're Ukrainians that speak Russian, so they might have been Russian like 34 years ago. But it's like they had a referendum in it. Like here you have a referendum. Only 51% wanted to exit the European Union, yeah? 51%, that 1% or 2%, so 3% made it more than the 49. So the 49% that wanted to stay in Europe, yeah, they gotta suck it up or bounce. Then you can't just go and then you're going, oh, okay. Because I can't imagine that the Ukrainians are just bombing the Donbass region because Russians lived there. There must have been some form of conflict. Because what are they going to kill? Oh, sorry, Russian-speaking Ukrainians live there, who probably do like think, yo, we want to be Russian.
I think Russians live there because if you ask them, like I say, you got Russians who got Ukrainian mom and dad. The area, whilst now it's there and there, it wasn't before. It was just people living and moving and them intermix and intermingle. You know, the language difference again.
They're pretty much. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's weird when we group people into these things. Because surely they're just the same people. Somewhere along the line, someone just drew a line and said, you live over there, you're Ukrainian, you live over there, you're Russian. But really, you're the same people.
I'm at the point, like I say, they live over there doing their thing and you live on the other side of the world. Because you want to sell them bombs and missiles. You come over there and create a conflict and everyone's talking about,
exactly.
well, they're the same. Of course they are. They was living over there for 1 million years, speak the same language, same families. America ain't got nothing to do with Russia or Ukraine. Exactly. America has come in and created the problem and just, like them do everywhere else, find a little difference and exacerbate it. So Ukraine don't have no power, no nothing, never. Russia run the thing. Russia don't business about Ukraine. Them don't blow up nothing in Kiev. They knocked out a couple power stations. That's hardly an invasion. You know, all the journalists, nightclubs, everything's on in Kiev. They only went and stopped the Kiev people bombing their people in Donbass. Now, I don't care who owns the land. The point is, if my family's getting bombed in down here, I'm looking for the man who's bombing them to dump the mic, defending the whole of King's Norton. You get me? So that's the same. Putin responded to the cries of his people, and he said the simplest way is annex this region, because when I stop 10 years, me I telling them I'm taking the mic, and you get me?
Yeah.
Aaron, don't get stuck in focus. Film, let's go back to
No, I'm sorry. I'm just wanting to know, like, again,
who?
I'm just looking at the makeup of Ukraine. So in Ukraine, well, 77.8% of Ukrainians live in Ukraine, which is obviously what you'd expect.
Is that the current Ukraine or the previous Ukraine?
So these stats are from a while ago, to be fair. This is like 20 years ago, it's telling me.
Right.
So 17%.
So that includes Donbass.
17% of people who live in Ukraine are Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where geographically that is. But
Predominantly in the Donbass region, that's what them say.
Including many children. I hope there is some way forward other than more suffering, but I don't know what it is. What I do know is that no war will crush Ukrainian identity or language. When I made a TikTok about Ukraine recently, a young person commented, "As a Ukrainian, I would like to add one thing that I recently understood myself. Ukraine became Ukraine by never giving up on fighting for its freedom." And that's a good reminder that this war is not about East versus West or whatever. It is about the right of Ukraine and its people to exist in freedom and independence. Putin doesn't believe Ukraine has that right, but he is mistaken. Ukraine doesn't need to be a Russia-friendly country or a Europe-friendly country. It should be able to be its own country, to make its own choices, secure in the knowledge that its borders and sovereignty are protected. I believe that day will come, but I fear for every day until it does. Hank, I'll see you on Friday.
Protected by you's the question, innit? You want it protected by NATO, who's got a contract not to come into that region. Hey, straight away there's a problem, innit? You don't want it protected by Germans or English. You want it protected by people who are contracted not to come in.
Well, they want it protected by people who can protect it. England can't protect it.
Right.
So you can't do nothing. German can't, but NATO's a big force. Basically, they want the Americans to protect it, and that's basically.
Well, NATO is a group of countries.
Yeah, but really,
right, so,
really, let's get it. Yeah, but let's be honest. They want America to protect it. America's a superpower.
Wales want America
That's
to protect it, but Charles now make America run nothing in England.
But this is what I'm trying to say. Innit? So, but ultimately, like, we have to come back to this because whatever we think about who lives where, when, why, how. Ukraine was its own country before Russia decided to do the USSR thing, yeah, and just try and take up everything off everyone. Ukraine was Ukraine.
I don't know that Russia took everything off everyone. Like I said,
They took their sovereignty and took their identity. Otherwise,
how
wouldn't
come
be
Ukraine's still there then if they took everything?
Because they got it back when the USSR broke up.
No.
Because before that, it was just USSR.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Ukraine. They didn't even
Russia
have a flag.
existed in the Soviet Union, innit?
Yeah, but
Ukraine existed in the Soviet Union as well.
Okay.
They didn't take everything and call everybody this Russians. They're not Russians.
Yeah, this is what I was asking you
They're
before.
Georgians, Maldivians. They were all there, and they were all the Soviets. That's what they were called.
Yeah, so the
collectively.
Soviets. Yeah,
the
they weren't
Soviet
Russians, they were
unions,
Soviets, yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, I get that.
but the countries or what have become
But they didn't have
countries
independence.
were they have common language and regional languages. What we're saying language is a regional difference, Small Heath and Aston kind of difference. Russian
But no,
and
it's
Ukrainians.
not small Heath and Aston, it's countries. Like
Well-
if a man come to my house and said, "Yo, you got to live in Small Heath now," although I'd be like, "What you talking about?" In fact, I'd be like, "Definitely, what you talking about?" But it's down the road. Like, you get me? Man comes from Russia, says, "Yo, you gotta go live in Chechnya now."
No,
I'd be like,
but in the
that's what
context
forced
of in the
movement.
context of right. Think about America, right? America is there and it has what they call states.
yeah,
Each of those states could be a country,
yeah.
but they're not. They're just under different assignments, so they're called states. Russia, similarly, big thing, has a region of things, and they all not called states, they called countries under the new context. Whereas before,
don't get why
under
that's-
Soviet Union, they were just like the American states.
Yeah, I get that.
Louisiana, Alabama, this and that,
Yeah,
Texas.
I get that.
So that's exactly the same model. America over here, so now saying, right, we want to go and support Texas to run its own things in a your thing, even though we did agree not to do that in the first place. Which that would never happen. That's like the
What do you mean?
Soviets
That-
wanting
that-
to put missiles in Cuba.
It's not the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Right. So this is what we're saying. So it's not the same thing because one, regardless of whether they're countries, states, whatever, it's not what you're doing, it's the way you do it, isn't it? So let's say, yeah, it is, because at the end of the day, like, America had a civil war and
With,
fought
with itself.
with itself.
Yeah.
North, east, south, because not everyone wanted to come under this whole USA thing. Actually, there weren't no big USA thing until like they had to start go to war, and then it came about. Now, don't get me wrong, that's all about capitalism, yeah. Again, however, it worked for them. They did it, and it worked. So that's why there's still a United States of America. Trust me, if it didn't work, and man were like, yo, like, let's say this now. Let's say if America really wanted to go, I bet, yeah, if they said, some of the states are like passing all them laws to not have guns and that, and obviously that's a major thing in America. If that becomes big mainspread, like, there may be a civil war in America again, and people are like, nah, we're having our own country. You see, if they try and say to the people down south, yo, you're not allowed to have guns, we'll see what happens then, if there's going to still be a United States of America.
But there's people in America now in Texas where them have the people, the gun thing, and them saying, we said to be broken whereas we own nothing. In fact, them have country in America already, so we know that in real terms. But this is what me saying. You can't live on the other side of the world and dictate what's happening over here. That's what Russia's saying.
100%, I
Right?
get that.
So you stay in America and run your politics, and China, you will stay in China and run your Chinese politics. But you see over here, so we run this.
No. See, Dad, I get that 100%. What I'm saying to you is, yo, Russia, if I'm in Ukraine, yeah, I'm saying, Russia, you stay in Russia and run your politics. What are you trying to come to my country for? You're not running my country because my country is not your country. No matter what you try and say, no matter, because you badded us up back in 1940s, yeah, and took the country, you were still not Russia.
They're badding them up now.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say to you. But really, it's still not Russia, no matter what you say. It's, again,
But did
That's
he
all-
invade
that's-
it?
it's
He
almost
never
as a-
invaded it, though, did he?
But the
I'm
thing
thinking,
is,
if
you
I
don't
want
need
your
to-
country here, then I gotta invade it to take it, innit?
no, there's more than one way to skin a cat. You want to take something off a man. Sometimes you're going to have to knock him out and take it. Sometimes you can coerce him into
Why?
doing it.
When you can just send 1 million men to live down there.
But this is what I'm saying. There's more than one way. There's more than one way
Right.
to skin a cat, innit?
Do you believe Putin wanted to invade Russia, invade Ukraine? No.
I think Putin's hand was forced in for him to do it. I don't think...
Absolutely.
I don't really think he was bothered. But what I'm saying to you
It's
is...
that insignificant.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you
Ukraine
is...
is the breadbasket in terms of food
Yeah,
growth in that
that's
region.
fine. But to me, like I said, I think the water thing is more prevalent. Like you said, the washing of money, all that thing
That's
is.
crazy.
But all I'm saying, yeah, but that's Ukraine, so it all comes hand in hand, innit? once you got one little thing, you might be like, one little thing I can forgive. Two little things. So now you're saying to me that NATO are coming in, so they're going to control the war.
NATO can't come in there.
Yeah, but listen to what I'm saying to you. This is what they're trying to do. So you're trying to tell me that, NATO, you're trying to join NATO, so you're trying to tell me that they're going to have like a weapons defense system, which is basically surrounding my country. Because, like, obviously, if they've got the water, they've got the weapons in there, they've got the money.
What are you talking about? Crimea is a different region, a different area, man.
It's not. It's Ukraine. Of course it is. What you talking about?
Ukraine had a port in Crimea. Oh,
Crimea is Ukraine. Crimea is in Ukraine. I don't get what you're talking about.
Isn't Crimea in Russia?
No, Crimea is in Ukraine.
No, Crimea is in Russia.
No, it's not. Crimea is in Ukraine. Crimea is in Ukraine.
Get the map up.
Yo, listen. Crimea is in Ukraine. 100%.
Americans have had Crimea for the longest time, innit? Not America, Russians.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's where their Black Sea fleet is.
Yeah.
So when Ukraine kind of...
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying to you.
So they can't go and take...
So listen to what I'm saying to you now, right?
Get the map up.
So, what to say is Crimea.
The war ain't got nothing to do with Crimea.
Yes, it has.
It hasn't.
Look, it has. Trust me.
Crimea is what America is using to try and joke out the thing. But to me, no war never start over Crimea.
Crimea was annexed in 2014 by Russia. And it's a what's it called, Ukrainian territory. It's in Ukraine. Russia had to annex it because, like I said to you, because of the NATO play, they're thinking, hold on a minute, if they get, remember, like I said to you,
them lose it.
If we lose Crimea, it's peak because we can't export or nothing, they can't do nothing. So that's
it's
a
not
big...
The fleets there, innit?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's massive for them. Massive for Russia. So what I'm saying to you is, anyway, I don't think Putin was bothered until all this NATO stuff and Ukraine joining NATO. I really don't think he cared.
Bothered.
But when you start talking about, we're going to join, we're going over there, then you have to start thinking like, hold on a minute. So you're telling me that, one, they're going to control our warm water port. Two, they're going to control or like have basically, because that would have completed a defense system around Russia as well. So they're going to have this defense system around Russia. Three, like you're saying, like, whether it's the breadbasket, they're going to have some control over all that as well. So they're thinking, nah, that's not happening. So we're going to go and make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that.
That's Russia saying that.
Yeah. Russia is saying this isn't happening.
Right. We're going back again. Let's go back. When they negotiated the breakup of the Soviet Union, all these things were discussed at that point. America breached every agreement that was made with the Soviet Union. So Russia is responding to what's happening around it based on those breaches.
So
the Ukraine manipulation, the Crimea thing, there would be no need for any change if Ukraine didn't say it wanted America in Ukraine. The Crimea wouldn't have got annexed.
But can I say something? Yeah, this is what I'm saying to you. So what I'm saying to you is, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that Ukrainians are an illegitimate people or illegitimate company. No, but what I'm trying to say is, realistically, as a country, and I know this isn't the way the world works, you should be free to do what you want to do, innit? Now, no, you should be.
Cuba's not free to do what it wants to do. Neither is the Caribbean. Why is anybody else free to do what it wants to do?
So that's my point. I just said to you, in an ideal world, people should be free. If you're a country, you should be free to do what you want to do. So if you want to go and join NATO, go and join NATO. I understand that defense, where geopolitics comes into play. So I understand what I'm saying to you is why Russia are doing what they've done. Which brings me back to the point of none of this would have happened without NATO and America doing it.
Wanting to wash money.
Well, wash money, whatever. Whether they just want to like put mind games on Russia, whether they want to make Russia feel inferior, maybe they do want to surround Russia for future. Maybe they want to be safe. I don't know what they're doing it for, but ultimately, the whole thing that's gone on is because they were courting Ukraine to join NATO. That's all I'm saying. Now, that doesn't take away.
True.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that takes away. Like, yo, of course, if you're Ukraine, you're going to be pissed.
Hang on, why would you be pissed?
Because ultimately, Ukraine...
America's courting Ukraine to join NATO. You mean Russia's going to be pissed?
No. Why Russia pissed? Because Russia don't care. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, they're going to be pissed that thing, but I'm saying to you, Ukraine are pissed now because they're getting invaded. And they're going to basically... They're almost coming under circumcision. So Ukraine might not even be around in 10 years. It might just be like, they might just be like, yo, you're Russia again. Because realistically, are the Americans going to come and save the day? Are they going to come and save the day?
Who?
The Americans.
Save which day? They ain't coming no way.
Exactly. So
They've
this
never
is what
said
I'm saying.
they was coming.
So
They've
that's
categorically
why...
said Ukraine can't be a part of NATO.
No. But forget that now. What I'm saying to you is Trump's in power now, saying that, yo, this shouldn't happen.
In the first
You lot
place.
should have just give your land to Russia. Like, and then that's what he said. You lot should just give the land to Russia. No one would have got killed. Nothing would have happened. Boom, said, done. It's like, that's like good business. That's what he says. That's good business. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, but it's you lot that have made this happen. And now you're just trying to go on like, oh, you know, we're kind of washing our hands of it now. We've done what we needed to do, so you lot are on your own, which is hence the talk of this big European army coming up, and which has been around for ages, to be honest with you. But yeah, anyway. So I know a little bit more. I still need to know more. I'd like to actually know about Russia before all of this, to be honest with you, and like how. And you was right about the size of Russia and America. America's like 100 and.
Bigger?
No,
Much
300.
bigger.
Yeah, I think there's 300 million people.
Economically,
in America.
size, geography, everything. America's mega compared to Russia.
Yeah. So I can imagine it's half the size almost. Russia's got half the size of people. I don't know about geographically though, because Russia's got bare desert land in it where people can't occupy.
It's not big, period. I think geographically it's not that big.
Well, either way, anyway, what I'm saying to you is, I started this video because Trump has been calling my man a dictator, and that Zelensky. So I just wanted to watch something. My father agrees. I still disagree. I still think, yo, people should just be left alone. It don't matter. Like Russia coming in there. Again, I understand the geopolitics of it, why Russia are doing what they're doing it, but again, it all boils back to the same thing, people.
What?
Don't want to say the words, but I'm just going to use the word West. The West, bro. Like, as soon as America start coming in, America, Britain, Europe, whatever, they're just messing up people's stuff, so...
Isn't this, like I said, the overall thing, the one world government and how they can bring that online? So that was just pushing on the back of that. Obviously, Putin don't like theme deal. But ultimately, they're all reading and singing from the same book. It's just how they move their populations along with what's going on. You know, America is mashed down physically, so it's exerting itself through its war machinery and generating lots of money at the top. But the actual American experience for the people in America is quite the opposite to that.
100%. And again, it's going to get worse. Listen, we're not going to jump into that. We'll jump into that in the next video. But what I wanted to say is, we out. Peace.